Welcome back to another We Ourselves video. Today I want to talk about two films that are sequels of movies that both made over $1 billion. Yet their sequels aren't breaking even and are actual bombs at the box office. And those two movies are The Marvels and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Before I begin, I want to say that I prefer to use the website The Numbers because I like how they break everything down from budgets to numbers adjusted for inflation to comparing the daily gross of any number of movies. So let's begin with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. When we look at the numbers, we see that Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom had a budget of $205 million, which means conservatively it needed to make $615 million or 3 times the budget to truly enter the profit zone. The reason we say triple the production budget is because you also have to consider the marketing costs, which for a movie like this was probably another $100 to $150 million. With that in mind, this movie needed to make $615 million to enter the profit zone again. Worldwide, as of this recording, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom has only made $337.1 million. When we compare the first 3 weeks of release for Aquaman 1 and 2, you find that the first Aquaman movie has made over 2.5 times as much money domestically as Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So it's clear that the Aquaman sequel will not get anywhere near that $1.1 billion the first Aquaman made. This is yet another bomb for DC. It's clear at this point that people are a little tired of the DC products. I'm not going to say fatigue because I don't think that's the problem. The issue, in my opinion, is a combination of the stories not being good and the reality that James Gunn, head of DC, came out and said these movies don't matter. Why he would say that when he still had these expensive movies waiting for theatrical release, I do not know. Also, the inconsistency of decisions at DC, the amount of lost money is amazing, and the people who really should be fired are the people in the top offices. This brings me to our second movie, The Marvels. This film is basically the sequel to Captain Marvel, which came out in 2019. The Marvels had an estimated production budget of $274.8 million. With this movie earning just under $200 million worldwide, The Marvels is officially the worst performing MCU movie ever. At bare minimum, this movie needed to make $550 million to possibly break even. Again, to safely make a profit, it needed to bring in triple the production budget, or $822 million. With the movie long out of theaters, there's no way for that to happen now. But I guess the question that some people might have at this point is, why are these movies failing? Why don't they seem to have any rewatch power by those who actually go and see them? I'll admit that when it comes to Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, I did not go and see this movie for a number of reasons. First, I've already mentioned that James Gunn announced that these movies would not matter going forward. I had also spent money and took time to go to the theaters to see the previous movies, including Black Adam, The Flash, and Blue Beetle, and I wasn't too impressed with any of them. In fact, I have no intentions of watching these movies on the Max streaming service, even though I have a subscription. And third, when it comes to Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, I had a problem with the whole setup of a black man playing Black Manta, getting his hands on a black trident and threatening everyone. Come on, folks. So I decided to just give this movie a pass. And honestly, I don't know if I'm going to check it out when it comes to the Max streaming service. And apparently a whole lot of other people decided to pass on this movie, of course for their own reasons. However, when it comes to The Marvels, I did go and see that, and I had a reaction for it, and I will have the link in the description. The problem with this movie is that the Marvel execs insisted on doing a sequel using a character that the target audience generally doesn't like, Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. That's why they changed the movie from a true Captain Marvel sequel to The Marvels by adding Miss Marvel and Captain Monica Rambeau. But the addition of these two more likable actresses could not save Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. And with a weak villain and the obvious fact that this movie doesn't seem to exist in the same universe that they created with their Disney Plus series, it's just more of Marvel disconnected products. At this point, both studios need to make serious changes to what they produce. I know James Gunn and Peter Safran have their plan for DC, and I look forward to seeing what they're going to do. I also can't wait for the second season of Peacemaker to premiere. But when it comes to Marvel, only time will tell. Before I end here, I want to say that Star Wars and Marvel seem to have this attitude of anything that you can do, I can do better. Now it seems Star Wars is hell-bent on making the same mistake Marvel made with Captain Marvel. That is, basing a new, expensive movie on the least liked character. Lucasfilm announced a new Rey movie, a character that has been the most divisive in the Disney Star Wars era. Then they announced a director who's already made the obligatory comments about alienating the core audience. Like the Marvel's failure, if the Rey movie also fails, they will try to blame it on the toxic male fans. But here's the problem. Whenever there's a breakdown of the demographic of those who go to see these anti-male or agenda-driven movies, male moviegoers still outnumber the women, the supposed serviced audience. Isn't it interesting that men, like me, will go and see a movie even when that movie and/or the director promotes the film as being anti-male and anti-misogynist? Yet we still show up in larger numbers than women. Now, I suspect that women who are true fans of the genre, first of all, don't like the pandering that goes on, and second of all, they also want good stories and good movies. So they are opting to not go to these movies like a large portion of the male audience. Disney, Star Wars, and Marvel need to understand that they cannot get rid of the core demographic, even when they say the movie is not for them. Disney had the little princess market locked up and purchased Star Wars and Marvel to bring in the little boys and the male audience. Then, for some reason, they lost their collective minds and decided to change those properties to bring in even more girls and women. That didn't happen, and men still are the largest group buying tickets to these movies. And despite box office failures, I still see them holding to this fantasy. Unfortunately, The Rise of Skywalker still crossed the $1 billion mark. Perhaps, if the Rey movie tanks as hard as the Marvels, maybe Disney Star Wars will finally get the message. Then again, it doesn't seem that Marvel has seen the light either. But anyway, that's my take on it. Please like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you in the next video.